Hello, it's Bailey and welcome back to my channel. I did just eat some Oreos, so hopefully that's not going on in my teeth, but if it is, that's what it is. I'm here today for my TBR game, Joke's on Me. This is round 5, episode 2, and I'm very excited to tell you what I'm going to be reading. So first, let's go ahead and watch the card flips that I did yesterday. Okay, you can see my legs, but that's fine. Today we're here for round 5, episode 2. We started this round up here at book club. I'm currently down here at Chris Pick, and I've got my cards all ready to go. So let's go ahead and find out what I'm going to be reading. A king, so I get to buy a book. An 8, so I do the opposite of what I land on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's book of the month, so opposite of book of the month, I can read a lot of things for that. And last card flip, a 5. I just moved 5 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Finish a series. So I'll be reading anything that's not a book of the month book and finishing a series. I'm realizing now that all the books I chose are blue, so that's kind of a fun vibe, and I'm wearing a blue shirt. Blue is the mood today, apparently. But the first thing I landed on was book of the month, but I need to do the opposite of that prompt, and so I could choose anything that wasn't a book of the month. I do feel like this very much fits opposite of book of the month because this is kind of like an indie, it has since been picked up, but like an indie romance. And I'm going to be reading The Fine Print by Lauren Asher. I'm fairly certain that this whole series is about brothers that are set to inherit like an amusement park, like a Disneyland-esque situation. I don't know anything about the tropes of this actual one, but there are 3 books out in the series and I need to read all 3 of them by the end of the year, I think. So I need to get started with this first book. Then for finish a series, I am gonna do it. I'm gonna do the thing. I'm going to read Jade Legacy by Fonda Lee, this chunky boy. I'm equally nervous and excited to finish the series and find out what Fonda Lee wants to do to my emotions. So this one is probably going to take me quite some time, but it should be worth it in the end. I'm anticipating. And then for my choice book, I am choosing to read Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. This was actually chosen for me because of Ruby's TBR game at Tic Tac TBR. She got Connor pick. Connor is her partner. I asked if Connor would also pick me a book, and so they chose Amari and the Night Brothers for me. So I do want to get to this by the end of July. So I'm probably starting with this book. So I will see you shortly when I do probably start Amari. I thought it was time to check in because I have been reading for this vlog. I have started Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston, mostly because I'm trying to finish this quick before July is over, because on Ruby's Tic Tac TBR for the month of July, there was Connor pick. So Connor picked me a book once again, and so they picked Amari and the Night Brothers. And so for me to be able to use that on her Tic Tac TBR, if you don't know, I play along in the comments of her TBR game every month. So for me to be able to count Amari and the Night Brothers, I need to finish it by the end of the month. So I have been reading it as my ebook, like when the lights are off at night, in the night with the baby, and it's gone very fast. I'm almost halfway through already with just like 2 nights of casually reading this, which it is middle grade, so I should have realized it was gonna go that fast, but I'm absolutely loving it so far. So this could be like a 2 for 2 with Connor picking for me. So maybe Connor should always pick for me instead of Chris. Maybe that's the tea here. But this is just like a fun middle grade fantasy series where our main character Amari essentially learns or is invited to this magical world society that her brother was also involved in, but she didn't know that her brother was involved with magic, but now she knows. And so far it's her just like learning about the world, but also her brother is missing, so she's kind of like getting into the world to figure out and find her brother, hopefully. And it's very whimsical, like it does have that like nostalgic feeling of just a fun fantasy world. So I'm hoping that the ending and the plot really follows through. I think there's 2 books out in the series so far. I'm not sure if the 3rd book is coming out this year or how many books are supposed to be in the series, but I'm excited for it. I have finished Amari. I finished it barely in time for it to count for July. Like, I went to bed thinking I wasn't going to finish it for July and then was up before midnight and finished it quick. And I'm happy to report that I did give this 4.5 stars. I did really enjoy this. I think it's a great start to a series, and like absolutely I would recommend this to kids in the middle grade age range to read this. I think it's a great modern alternative to things that have been read for years and years, and I'm excited to continue the series. I do think this discusses like class difference and friendship and family and all those things that are good for that age range in this book, as well as fun magic stuff. So if you've been keeping an eye on this one, I definitely do recommend the series. I really enjoyed it. But now I don't know what I'm gonna start next, so I'll just check back in once I decide. I never mentioned in the intro that this is what I'm hauling for this video, but this is what I'm hauling, and I'm also halfway through it right now, about halfway. In terms of tropes in this book, this is what I thought it was going to be. In terms of it is the series about 3 brothers who are set to inherit this like amusement park tycoon type thing, but in this one, the first brother, we are following Rowan, and this is basically like a boss employee romance, and he is definitely like a stick in the mud. He's a grumpy hero. He's kind of an asshole to all the employees at this business that he is the boss of, and we're following one of these employees as she is kind of, you know, getting to him. So it's definitely like Grumpy Sunshine. Our female character Zara is very like optimistic and determined, and she genuinely is like a good employee with good ideas. But there's also an aspect to this book where he is kind of like catfishing her, pretending to be somebody else because he is helping her in a way that he doesn't want her to know that it's him helping her. So he's pretending to be somebody else. So she's talking to like somebody else also and doesn't know it's him. So I'm thinking that's gonna be like the main conflict of this book. But I am enjoying it so far. There is like not a lot of words on a page, so I'm getting through it fairly fast. So we'll see how in the end I feel about the romance aspect. I am now also like 35% of the way into Jade Legacy, so I thought it was time for me to check in. I did finally get the ebook from my library, so I don't have to hold that huge hardcover, so hopefully I'll be making quicker progress now. But overall, all I really have to say about the book so far is that in this specific one, we are going through quite a bit of time. All of our characters are aging fairly fast. Like, there's a lot of time jumps. We're going through many years, but the story as a whole is giving me the same good vibes that the first 2 books did. It's including all the same things in terms of just like the way that this fantasy series is structured. It's a very political fantasy with like constant advancements in plot, but no like huge overarching plot. So I'm still really curious like where this story is gonna end us. Like, what are we working towards here? I honestly have no idea, but I'm along for the ride and getting through this big chunky book. I say 35%, but I think that's like over 250 pages in, so I must continue. I have finally finished The Fine Print by Lauren Asher, and I'm giving this 2 stars, and it's honestly kind of a generous 2 stars. The end of this book really tanked for me. When I updated last, I was like so close to when this finally gets steamy, and so I thought the steamy scenes in this book were honestly terrible. I didn't like them at all, and like, minor spoilers for the end, I guess it's a romance, they end up together, spoiler, but in the end when they're finally like deciding to be together and like saying I love you, our hero says like he wants to not use a condom, and they act like that's romantic, and it gave me the biggest ick in the world. And I also just think the concept of him being like an asshole hero, there was not much redemption for his like character here. So this was kind of a fail for me. I did give it 2 stars because I do think that if this author wrote like tropes that I like, that the writing style could work for me if the steamy scenes aren't as cringe. Like, it was a good like flowy writing style that I like in romances. I would need to see improvement in steamy scenes and just not the asshole hero trope. I am still going to continue this series because I do think that the 3rd and final book is going to be on the Goodreads Choice Awards, so I'm gonna need to read them to get to it. So that's disappointing. Good morning. The pajamas should be signaling that I do not plan on leaving the house today. I plan on finishing Jade Legacy. Today is technically my reward day that I am using for finishing last round, round 4. Mabel is gone. She is with Chris's parents, so she's coming. She left yesterday around like 4 o'clock and she's coming back like late afternoon today, so I have some time that I can take to do some reading today. I do have a live show today, but otherwise no plans. And I am about 80% into Jade Legacy, and I love this series so much. That's all I can ever say. I will say that this book has had a bit more like action scenes, being as we're getting to like the end of stuff and some conflicts need to be resolved. I will say that they don't feel as like blah to me as in some other fantasy series that are more action heavy, because they all feel like necessary and they like get to the point, happen, and then we move on. So that's my plan for today. I can't believe that I'm getting to the end of this series. I'm about to know everything. So I'll check in probably once I finish that today. I did just successfully complete Jade Legacy, my chunky friend. That was a huge task for today. I did spend 4 hours and 43 minutes today reading, but I'm so glad that I just pushed through and finished it. It is very satisfying to finish such a large series like that. I am giving that book 4.5 stars, which is technically the lowest I've rated any of them, so it would be my least favorite, but I loved this series so much. I think the only reason that for this specific one I didn't give it a full 5 stars is this one did have more action scenes, like I said, which I'm just like notorious for not enjoying as much. And I also think that while this is like, it did wrap up nicely for the people that survived the series, like their lives are continuing, and so there is still, for me at least, like quite a bit of intrigue of like still where we go next. I could see Fonda Lee definitely choosing to do, like we're in the Mistborn series, there's like an era 1 and then era 2. I can see her choosing to still continue with some of these characters in this world and such, and I would be here for it, honestly. And so yeah, I will definitely be considering this one of my favorite series now, and I will definitely be keeping an eye out for what Fonda Lee is working on next. I do know there are a couple novellas in this series that I definitely will be reaching for. But that brings us to the end of episode 2. I hope you are enjoying this round. So thank you so much for spending some time with me today, and I will see you again very soon. Bye.